Anyways, long-winded way of saying we did our development camp last week. So on the ice, we had a mix of O7s, we had O8s, which is the bulk of the group, and then we had a couple O9s sprinkled in there that are doing our development program that could play on the teams next year, whatever. So we ran it with the same format that we did the next gen camp. So I had skate in the morning, mobility thing. We did some tours and stuff, and then we had a game, full game after. So from that group, it was actually awesome because we had you and Dale there, which I love when Dale's around. Like I'm doing everything I can to drag him into being around this year because I love his influence. And it was one of the first times I got to see him the last few weeks, like on the ice, kind of running a practice, like in coach mode. And man, he's great.
He's awesome, man.
Good. So
awesome.
I had you two guys out there. The other coaches that are involved in the academy are out there. So from that group, 07, 08, these are guys that want to make the step to the next level. So the interesting thing about this group is all of the top guys are gone, right? All the top guys would either be signed to OHL teams because they got drafted high. They're going to their OHL camp, although we had a couple kids that are still going to OHL camps that played. But this would be like the next tier down from the top end guys that are already signed to junior B or whatever it is. Okay, so from that camp, just thoughts about what you thought of the level of play watching the game and from the skills, and then a little bit of the good and the bad on kind of where, if you're measuring that group, kind of where you see they're at, deficiencies, positives, negatives, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat the same with me. There's what you see is a lot of kids that are used to practices, like skill practices, and when it comes to the game situation, there's a lot of habits that have never been addressed, or if they haven't been addressed very well. Just like the simple parts of like I always it's almost like I always say this, but passing is just not very good. So there was one, and I don't know if you were on the ice at the time that I was, but I was. We were doing a neutral zone thing where it was going a D to D, and you're hitting a guy in the middle, right? Hitting a guy in the middle, so the guy's curling. So number one guy that's curling is, half the time they're in a really bad route, so you can't you can't see their stick, right? The back's to the play a lot, so they just don't know enough to get deep, get wide, get open, right? So they're running routes, so that, a lot of the times they're just kind of looking behind them, or if you get a bad pass, the guy that's receiving the pass is, he's looking behind him and, blames the other guy for having a shit pass, but it's actually partially your fault because you're giving him a bad angle, right? But having said that, the guy making the pass has to adjust to that too. But anyways, but in that sequence, like it was a few, like right away, we'd go D to D, and the D were number one, not moving their feet whatsoever, or
like into the passing, you mean?
Yeah, see, the thing is, the thing is, as a defenseman, yes, there, of course, someone could sit there. Well, I remember, whatever, they can argue this, but if I have a saying that I say to players all the time. I said, if your feet, bad things happen when your feet are not moving. Good things happen when they're not. So just like as a defenseman, if you know that
sorry, say that again.
Bad things happen,
yeah,
when your feet aren't moving. Good things happen when they are. Okay. Then all I simply mean by that is, like, even if you're a defenseman, even if reasonably, if you think that you're going to be getting a pass, just to have a little bit of motion, just a little bit of motion, so that when the puck is on your stick, you're moving a little bit. So what that allows you to do is be a little bit mobile right away. If you're standing still, then doesn't even matter if it's a good pass, bad pass. Like, there's times where your feet are going to be still, but I mean, when you're moving the puck up the ice or whatever, if you can have your feet in motion just a little bit, I'm not talking like 25 strides. I'm talking like, if I know if I'm getting a pass and I just even glide out a little bit so that I'm moving, then what happens is, if you're under pressure, your feet are moving, so maybe you can escape or you can continue on or whatever. But if you think about it, also, if you are moving the puck up the ice, like, you shorten the gap on that pass if you're moving, right? You have momentum, you're stronger, you're faster. It's going to be a little bit more accurate pass, just simply because you're moving a little bit. So what I noticed with the D is right away, not everyone, but like sequence after sequence, like D would be going away from each other. So that's number one. Like, you expose the middle of the ice. I saw that D have the puck and it's like dust before they can make a play. So it's like they see a play, they have to dust the puck off, then they make a play. That's a very frequent thing. And just and then after moving your feet, the other part about moving your feet, like especially as a D, if you move the puck up the ice, if you're standing still, you can't jump in the play, or if there's a turnover, you have to, get your feet moving. Whereas if you were moving already, that would be taken care of. You could you take away, like if it's a turnover, you're in a position to recover, and or jump in the play. So like for me, it was the passing, it was the little details of the passing, and then just simply like, everybody knows in hockey once you get to a certain level, which I would say probably by pee wee, which we call U13. Maybe they're not excellent at it, but um, you know that if you're in an offensive rush, like let's say a 3-on-2, someone's got to drive the net. And there's just like, these are the game situation stuff that are lacking big time. So it's like, who drives the net? And it's like you almost have to explain it like they've never heard it before, like a middle lane drive, and if someone's not driving, someone needs to go. Take a guy with you, back the D off, or create space and stuff like that. So it's like the thinking part of that. It's like I don't want to say they want the game to come to them. Maybe they just don't know the difference. So I would say that like a lot of the coaching is just not detailed enough to show them their options, right? Hanging on to pucks way too long. Another thing that's really, like, I would say this is like the overcoaching of overcoaching, but not coaching enough. Huh. Okay. You've heard me and Dale were talking about this yesterday. It's amazing. Like he's saying that even with the junior guys that he's got, like it's the first week with them, right? And we were talking about, if you're carrying the puck up the ice, if you want to have, if you want to be able to make plays, is you don't want to be stuck on the wall. So even if you're coming out, you want to take that step to the middle. You want to get to dot lanes, right? We call them dot lanes. That's what everyone likes to use that term, and it's fine. So you want to get in dot lanes. So, but people, like, it seems like almost like, okay, people that teach the concepts don't have enough. They don't add to it. So yes, you want to get towards the middle of the ice to create some options, and you want to get people. If you're going down on a D, you want them, hopefully you're in a crossover to get them to move their feet and stuff. But then the explanation of it's not always just get to the middle of the ice. So getting to the middle of the ice is not necessarily your play. Sometimes you can still, oftentimes you can get to the dot lane but explode wide. And using that wide, I'm not even using terms properly, but using that wide lane and driving wide and taking the D with you that way. But it's like, it seems like, no, I was taught to go use the middle of the ice. It's like, okay, but then what happens a lot of times when someone takes the middle of the ice, sometimes it negates the speed of someone else. So you'll see a lot of offsides or someone having to slow down. So it's like, okay, so now you got the middle of the ice and you have your speed, or maybe you had to slow down to get to the middle of the ice, and now two other guys have had to slow down. So now it's like you're almost restarting and the options are gone, or guys are bumping into each other. So it's just like, and I know that's one thing, and you could pick that apart for as whatever you want, but those are like kind of the things I see.
What about you talked a lot about the communicating thing too, like how they just don't speak.
That's just unbelievable right now. It almost seems like I don't know if it's kids. I don't know if it's. I mean, I think coaches tell them that, but it's, I don't know how many times you have to tell kids, like, if you communicate with your teammates, you're going to get some, cohesion, let
wow.
But let guys know where you are on the ice, call for pucks and stuff like that.
And scientist.
Yeah. I'm a scientist. So those are the major things. And then like, and I know this comes a little bit later on, but it's dusting the puck again off when you see shots. It's shooting without a purpose. It's like those little details that make you a good hockey player. Like if you don't have a good shot in a game, like, but you want to get it on the net and you have traffic going to the net, your best option, especially if you're not getting tons of wood on it, is not to go high glove, high blocker, or whatever. What would be your best option? Is shoot for a pad and let someone maybe bang in a rebound and stuff. But then there's not a lot of guys that have that innate ability or that innate desire to get to the net to get those ugly ones. There's
a lot of it. There's a lot of like little ego things too. Like guys want to be the one that scores the goal or makes the move or all that. It's hard to I don't want to use the word sacrifice. It's hard to think of the bigger picture and what will make you a good player at the moment. Like, because you think the deke makes you the guy, the goal 100%. Makes you the guy. So they're fighting that a little bit too.
100%.